Hey there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am here with my next whip update. Today is Wednesday, April the 5th, 2017. Woohoo, we made it through it. I don't know why, that's always the hardest part. And yeah, so we're here. I have quite a few things to show you because I have been a bit absent for 2 weeks again. I'm really sorry about that. Basically, I got a little obsessive, as I do, and when I get obsessive about a project, everything else goes by the wayside. So yeah, but you'll be able to see the fruits of that labor here in just a little bit. Today I've got a couple of questions that I want to go over. I also have some whips to talk about. I want to talk about what I'm currently working on. I have some plans, but they're flimsy at best, nothing official. I didn't even do a calendar this month. I did one, but I threw it out the window. What else do I have? I'm scrolling through my notes. I have a little bit of retail therapy. Some I forgot to go get out of my mailbox, but that'll have to wait. I also have some books to talk about. I have to do my TBR jar draw for April, which, spoiler alert, I already did, but I filmed it, so I'll insert that so that we can talk about it. And then some knitting to talk about briefly. So yeah, standard fare as per the usual. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. So I have just a couple of questions, or what I might call topics for discussion. So the first two come from Darlene Sears and Sarah Richards. Darlene specifically asked, "Love your cowl shawl. Did you make it?" And Sarah asked, "What did you use for it?" So they are referring to the scowl, as it is called, that I was wearing in my last web update. And so you may recall this pretty thing right here. This is a scowl because it is made to look like a shawl, but it's a cowl, so it's all connected so that it never falls off. And I'll just slip it on here real quick. And yes, I did make this. This is the Star Shower by, and I've heard her last name pronounced two different ways, but Hillary Smith Callis or Calais. I'm not entirely sure on the official pronunciation there. I knit this back in 2015, and I knit it out of Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock Lightweight, which is their fingering 100% superwash merino base, and the colorway is Willapa Bay. So it's got, it's a variegated colorway. It's got, that did all kinds of fun things to my hair that I'm always fuddling with. It's got some gorgeous blue tones and some kind of funky green colors. I loved this. The construction is so cool because you cast it on like a shawl and then join it and knit in the round. So very cool. I am getting ready to make another one of these, maybe even two, because they're quick. And they are so functional because you don't have to mess with it. You just throw it on and you're good to go. So I love these. And she has a few patterns like this. So yeah, there's that. I'm sorry I didn't talk about that. I want to be better at talking about the knits that I'm wearing, but it's a work in progress itself. Okay, and then Emily R. and several others have asked me if they can join my birthday sale just on Instagram because they don't use Facebook. Totally, absolutely. Even if you don't use Instagram or Facebook and you just want to like talk about it on YouTube, or you just want to talk to me about it in the comments. Cool, I'm down for that. I don't want to exclude anybody for any reason whatsoever. If you want to stitch along, cool. If you want to knit along, cool. Crochet, embroider, whatever. If you want to craft along with me to celebrate my birthday, then I'm down. no matter what social media platform you decide to use. So absolutely go ahead and join on Instagram. The hashtag we're using is JessieTurns29Sal, and I have that down here for you. So if you want to tag your projects on Instagram or other social medias, go ahead. Would love to see them. So yeah, absolutely, Emily, join along. And then I have a couple of special shout outs for Andrea and Lynn. They found that little weird piece of art, or that piece of the Alice in a Dolly Dream from Heaven and Earth Designs and Jasmine Beckett Griffith. They found where that came from. And it came from, I'm going to put the official name on the screen here because I am not going to attempt to pronounce it. But it is the English translation is The Bodily Assumption in Blue. And that's a Salvador Dali painting, which you should be seeing a preview of, just so you can see where that funny little orb comes from. Andrea and I got to talking about like how to go about trying to find this thing, and I was saying that I looked up Dali garlic because it kind of looks like a clove of garlic. It also looks like a white brain. Lynn said the strange gold orb with a nucleus. Salvador Dali. What a weird perspective. But thank you, ladies, both for helping me find that because it was driving me crazy. And so, yeah, happy to see that. Okay, so that's it for the questions. As always, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them next time. Okay, so let's switch on over to the whip review, and we're going to start it off with something real special. It's a finish. This is the project that prevented me from filming last week because, like I said, I got very obsessive about it, and the reason that I got obsessive about it is that, as I mentioned in my last video, I wanted to have it done by that following weekend, at the latest Monday or Tuesday. I didn't finish it until Thursday, and that was after like pushing really hard on it. So, no, actually, I think it was Wednesday when I finished it because I took a day off. Anyway, long and short, I was working on Persephone by Mirabilia, and this is what she is charted to look like finished. And you'll be seeing a preview here of what she looked like the last time I showed her to you. I was, at the time, partially the way down on the beads. I still had to get to work on my border, and what else did I have to do? Oh, I had to finish up the background. So if you are on any of the other social medias that I am also on, you will have seen this already, but she is, of course, finished. Oh my gosh. So I'm not gonna go on ad nauseum talking about this like I did Frosty, because that was a little excessive. But my plan is, of course, to do a finished video for this. But I just want to talk about like a couple of things. First of all, the final count for beads, 2,205. Now, that is, it's kind of a mix. It's basically the charted beads. What I did is I highlighted every bead on the chart and counted. There are some differences, some notable differences. For instance, I have extra beads here. However, in her skirt, in particular, in some of these swirls, it's charted with 5 beads side by side. I would have never got 5 beads to sit next to each other. And in fact, I even went down. If it was 4 beads, I took 1 out. So if it was charted with 5, I did 4. If it was charted with 4, I did 3. Just to make sure that they sat in there pretty. Because, as I discussed with Mill Hill beads, they don't like to play together very nicely. They don't sit well together. When I got down to this section and I was in the swirls of the beads, I realized that I am so glad that I didn't do the Greek key on the background here, because that's kind of what those look like. I mean, it's a loose interpretation, it's an abstract idea of the same thing, but it's nonetheless, it's like an interpretation of Great Key. And I'm just glad that I didn't put that here because it would have seemed redundant, just a little too much. I think that this looks kind of feminine, so I'm a big fan. I like it. And Thor is coming to from his nap, so he may come and have a visit, but we shall see. What else? Oh, I wanted to talk to you about the border. So I did do the border. My border is going to look very different than is charted. The bottom row is just a single stitch as well as on the top row. I extended it out 4 stitches on each side. The side border, and I'm going to bring it in close so that you can see it, is satin stitch. So basically I took 2 strands of DMC 37.99 and then just did a satin stitch all the way down. She is 300 stitches high. I did 3 columns essentially of satin stitch. That's a lot of satin stitch. It took a really long time. The goal was to make it look like Greek columns, which is another popular feature in Greek architecture. And it's where, for instance, Thomas Jefferson got his inspiration for basically everything at Monticello and at the University of Virginia. So it's like a really popular feature. So I wanted it to look like that, and it kind of does, but not really. What I should have done, I did them right next to each other, so each column of satin stitches is butted up right next to each other. I should have stuck a thread in the middle, so I should have done satin stitch, thread of fabric, satin stitch, thread of fabric, satin stitch, so that it would look, I don't know, a little bit more distinct, maybe a little bit more rounded, but I didn't do that. And I'm okay with it. It doesn't look bad. It's just, it's not exactly what I had in mind. So there's that, and then over here, you see my signature. I wanted to hide it, but I thought, no, I'm just going to make it obvious. I'll just put it down there. So yeah, there she is. She is all done. Can you believe it, guys? Started her on January 1st, 2015, and finally, at long last, in 2017, she's done. I love her. I love her. I love her. I want to get her framed so bad, but she's huge. I mean, this is a fat quarter of fabric. She's big. It's going to take a lot to frame her. But I need to do it because I need her on my wall. She's just so gorgeous. And what a fitting project to finish up for spring. Good old Persephone in her pastels. Speaking of fabric, this fabric is a 32 count Belfast linen in Tempest from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And yeah, I love it. I love the fabric. You can see a picture of Persephone, at least currently, on Stephanie's website. She has it in her finished pieces tab. Yeah, that was like, whew. My girl featured on the fabric dyer's website. That makes me happy. And she looks so good. Just bring her in close. I did stitch the skin 1/1, as we've been talking about for approximately 1.5 years now. Oh, that's the other thing that I did change. Because I stitched her skin 1/1, I also did the back stitch for her skin in 1 strand. It calls for 2 strands, but I did 1 strand because I knew that the 2 strands would be so thick in comparison to this very delicate looking skin. So that is a thing that I did. Yeah, she's gorgeous. I will talk more about Persephone in her finish video, which is forthcoming. I think probably sometime this week I'm going to do the finish videos for the 2 major finishes I've had so far this year. Speaking of finishes, Persephone is my 7th finish for 2017 thus far. She is also my 15th finish for the Year of Whips. So officially I'm done with Year of Whips. I think. Do I have that right? I think I do. Yeah, Year of Whips is supposed to be 10 to 15 whips, but I'm going for the full 34 that I had mentioned. So I am not quite halfway there yet. It's still quite a ways to go. So yeah. So after I finished Persephone, the Stitchy Bug slump came into full effect. I took Thursday off. I didn't stitch at all on Thursday. Yeah, that was not happening. There was nothing that was calling to me. There wasn't enough time left in the month to start Stargazer, because I knew that the sales were getting started on Friday. So there was no way that I was gonna start Stargazer and then have to put her down. So I just sat there and stared at my whips and wondered what to work on. Finally, I did pick something out, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But then on Friday, both of the stitch-alongs that I am currently participating in, their next clues were released. I started with the Fantasy Cell. So the Fantasy Cell is, of course, by Lakeside Needlecraft and Doreen Jones. Here is what it is started to look like. This is the block that we got this month. It is a sweet little gnome, and he, of course, has a mushroom umbrella, because why not? And you'll be seeing a preview here of what this looked like the last you saw it. I am stitching this on a 32 count Belfast in Heroic by Picture This Plus. And, of course, I got the black done. So here's the whole design as it stands. And let me fold up and zoom in. As I do, I went ahead and finished up his circle as well as the one below, so that I am ready for July. So there he is. Isn't he adorable? Absolutely adorable. The only changes that I made to this one is that I stitched his skin 1/1, because that's what I do. He took me a good couple days to finish up, just because my Stitchy Bug was just doing its own thing. But I really love him, and I think he just turned out absolutely adorable. I stitched his beard last, because if I can, I'll stitch white absolutely last. And he kind of looked like Toad from Super Mario for a little bit there, especially before I got the backstitch in. The backstitch on these pieces astound me. Absolutely changes the picture. So there's that. So we have just 3 more blocks to go, and then I have approximately 18 years worth of border left to do. When I was in the midst of my Stitchy Bug slump, Cass and a few others suggested working on the border for this, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I know I need to, but I couldn't do it. Wasn't feeling it. You know, it's trouble, because when your Stitchy Bug is being annoying, you need to work on something, because otherwise it runs the risk of running away entirely. The side effect to that is, of course, that if you work on something that your Stitchy Bug doesn't want, then it exacerbates the issue. Finicky little beast. Anyway, I was able to push through and get the block done, and then I moved on to the Birthstone Dragon's Owl. This is, of course, by Ingleside Imaginarium, who is Brittany of Blimey Cat Stitches, and we got April Diamond. My birthstone! So, preview here of what this looked like the last you saw it. I had the first 3 dragons done, and some of the border, about a third of the border, and framework, and yesterday I finished up the dragon. And I also did some work on the frame as well. So I did some of this, the not work looking border, and then some of the block frames. So let me zoom in on Dahlia here. And as usual, I have my story. By the way, before I get into the story, this fabric is a 32 count Belfast in Sparkling Diamonds from Crafty Kitten Fabrics. This was in her April 2016 Birthstone limited edition box thing, themed around the birthstones. So here we have Dahlia, and real quickly, her gemstone is over here, and then she has another one in her collar there. I don't know if you can see that. It is a Swarovski bicone in there. Other changes that I made, the bracelet on her tail and her collar I stitched in Petite Treasure Braid rose gold, because I have an affinity for rose gold, and so I thought that my birthstone month should have my favorite metal. And then her eye is a bright blue. So her story, as they do, came together while I was stitching her. Dahlia is her stage name. She's a diva. I mean, do you see how dramatic, what a dramatic pose she's in? Like, look at me. So Dahlia is her stage name. Her stage name she got from a flower from the, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Asteraceae family of flowering plants. Asteraceae flowering plants. And that is because she's absolutely head over claws in love with Aster over here. And she is doing everything she can to try to win his affection, but he's not having it. He's really career focused. He's really he's more interested in locating gemstones, particularly he's after that heart of the ocean, and he has no time for females. But Dahlia here is absolutely in love. And so she does everything she can to try to win his affections. Hence the reason she has 2 diamonds, because she knows that he's a fiend for those gemstones, so she's just trying to get his attention. But as you can see, he's not even looking at her. And she's like over here, like, come here, you know you want to. So that is my story so far. So we have Gallius, Amina, Aster, and Dahlia. Love them! Brittany, I absolutely love this design. I gotta admit, this is another one where the backstitch totally changes everything. I don't know what it was with this one, but the purple to me was so shockingly darker than the white that I was constantly checking myself, like, am I using the right color? What if I pulled off the wrong bobbin? What if I mislabeled these? But I kept checking, and I had it right, and once I got the backstitch in, it did not look so terrible. It never looked terrible. I was concerned that I was doing something wrong. But it's totally fine, and it's beautiful, and I love her. And I cannot wait to see what Emerald looks like, because I love those. Sorry, I've got floss tube itchy nose like a crazy person. I can't wait to see how she works with those deep, heavy greens. Danny went and picked up the next 4 months worth of charms for me. So, yeah, that's going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to see what Emerald looks like. You see how rich that green is? These are the charms that I use, and they come from Hobby Lobby. And so I just take off this ring up top here, and then we're good to go. So, there is that. That's my Birthstone Dragon cell. So yeah, so now we're kind of, what am I working on now? I talked to you guys last time in my whip update that I am feeling the Heaven and Earth designs right now, and that is definitely still the case. As such, I decided to pull out Personal Sunshine, which is my Heaven and Earth design. The artwork is by Jeremiah Kettner, and this is what the whole design will look like finished. I started this in January of last year for the original Heaven and Earth Designs Challenge. You'll be seeing a preview here of what this looked like the last time you saw it. And here's what it looks like now. So I know that there's not a whole lot to see, other than just a whole lot of black and maybe a little purple blob in there. Real quickly on the needle minders, the elegant purple pumpkin down here, that is from Julie at Nifty Needle Nannies. The little purple flower was a gift from Carolina Crafts Makeup Food, and the black and purple zombie skeleton girl cameo thing is from Gina's Unique Boutique on Etsy. So I've worked on this a few days, and I think I've done about 1,100 stitches so far. That feels like it's wrong. Maybe it's 1,000. I can't remember, you guys. I've done a few hundred stitches. So filling in, basically this whole corner is just a lot of black. That little purple blob there, I'm going to pull up the design for reference. That is this purple blob right here. They're kind of like little flowery cloud looking things, but then these guys are clouds. So not sure what they are, but they are decorative elements, and so I will continue working on this. I'd like to get a page finish by the end of this month, but I'm not holding myself to that. I'm not putting any pressure to do that. I love this design, but it's not a high priority, so if I don't get the page finished this month, so be it. I'll do it another month. So my plan is sort of to try to reach the half-page mark. And now we're going to transition into my plans, because once I reach the half-page mark, if we haven't started my birthday sal just yet, I am going to then start Stargazer by Mirabilia, because I haven't done so yet, just because of all of the other reasons that I've been talking about. So again, this is Stargazer. I'll be doing a Virginia Tech inspired conversion and stitching her on 32 count Belfast in Florin by Chromatic Alchemy. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Mauvey gray-brown. Although the mauvey tones don't really come across, it really does look more brown than it is. Yeah, this is gorgeous. So that's going to happen once I reach the half-page mark, I think. Now, it may come to a point where I'm like at the half-page point and I don't want to stop working on Personal Sunshine, but I'll just sort of cross that bridge when I get to it, and of course report back. So next, as far as other plans are concerned, Year of Whips has got to take my focus. It's got to be my goal. And so I have made the decision to focus on trying to get 2 Year of Whips projects done a month. Because of my birthday sale this month, I've decided to go with some things that won't necessarily take a ton to finish. I have a couple that are a long ways off from being done, that are going to take a lot more focus. So I went with what I would consider a medium-sized Year of Whips project and a smaller one, to try to get those 2 done. I need to do between 2 and 3 finishes of my Year of Whips from now until the end of the year in order to finish it all. So I've got to get working. As a result, I am going to participate in the Stitch Mania month-long sales and the Tour de Designer sales, which I've kind of already delegated that was my plan, but I'm only participating in them if I have a Year of Whip to fit it. So for April, the month-long sale is April architecture, so something with a building in it. And the only year of WIP that I have with a building in it is the Pumpkin Patch Farm sampler by the Victoria sampler. And barn totally counts as architecture. So there is that. And just a quick preview of what this looks like currently. I just showed this to you on Sunday for my birthday sale, but 32 count Belfast in something moon linen. So there's that. And this I'll work on as and when I have an opportunity to try to get this done this month. It's also the one that I'm using for the almost finished for my birthday sale, so kind of works out. I needed to put that on my frame and try to work a little bit on it every day, but we'll see. We'll see when that happens. And then I also pulled, like I said, I pulled a small, and the small that I picked is Mill Hill Scotland Santa, excuse me. And this I started for the, I guess now deleted group, Cross Stitch and Discuss apparently disappeared. Last year for their Crazy 7 is when I started this, and I haven't worked on it since. But this is as far as I've gotten to. These are hands, this is leg popping out underneath the kilt. So I have quite a ways to go, but this is still nonetheless a small. I mean, it's little, so there's that. And this, again, I will work on as and when I can to try to get that finished up this month. So that will be 2 year of WIPs. Knock them off the list. This doesn't mean that I'm not going to be participating in certain things. It just means that I'm going to have to dial back a little bit. I'm still doing Stitch Mania. I'm still doing Wine and Whips. Like, you know, I'm still participating. I'm just more focused on what I was going to work on. Originally, I had picked 4 projects for April architecture, but 3 of them aren't Year of WIPs, so why? Anyway, so that's it for plans. I've got those 3 projects, the one that I'm working on, and then my birthday sale, and we'll just see what April brings. The other thing about sort of going at this, just whatever happens, April's a busy month for me. Next, not this coming weekend, but next weekend is the 3.2 Run in Remembrance in Blacksburg, which I will be walking. It is also Easter weekend. It is also the 10-year anniversary on Easter Sunday is the 10-year anniversary of the tragedy at Virginia Tech. Let's see. The following weekend is the spring game at Virginia Tech. There is a birthday celebration in there somewhere. What else? The weekend after that is the 24-hour readathon and a Hokies alumni King's Dominion Day. So essentially it's like a day for Virginia Tech alumni, which I want to do. I don't know if we're going to do, but I want to do because I think that'd be cool. Hokies taking over a theme park. That'd be fun. What else? Birthdays. My nieces turned 7 on Sunday, this coming Sunday, which inevitably there will be some, like, there's just stuff. There's stuff happening in April. So, it's kind of good to have this very loose plan outside of the birthday sale because things could change on a dime. Anyway, okay, so let's move on and let's talk about some retail therapy. I have just a couple of things to show you. One of which is it's going to be a Mania start, and I'll start with that one. I had to order some beads, like I mentioned, for Persephone. So in order to justify the shipping and to make sure that a packet of beads didn't get lost, I filled the envelope a little bit. So we have Good Coffee and Friends. This is a Debbie Mum Mill Hill kit. And yeah, so this is charted and is provided with, I believe it's 16 count. Yes, 16 count Ada. And I am going to do the full set of 6 on, I think, Mama Bear by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. But we shall see. And then I kind of have a plan to have it covered in glass or plexiglass or plastic or something as like a coffee server. But we shall see. The thing about these Debbie Mum kits is that there are not a ton of beads. You can kind of see right there, there's really not a whole lot of beads there. So I think that it might be okay. But I just started with this one just to get one of them. So there's that. Another project that I have planned to start this year, I don't think I'm going to start it for Mania because I have some decisions to make with it. But it is Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain by Kathy Barrick. And yeah, this has to happen. It's just, it has to happen. This is absolutely stunning. I don't normally like stitching houses and buildings like this, but I don't care because I'm gonna stitch them. So the decisions that I have to make are, of course, whether to use the NPIs or DMCs or a mix. I'm not entirely sure. The other decision I have to make is what count fabric I'm stitching this on. This thing is a beast. It is absolutely huge. It's 419 wide by 269 high. And I think the model was stitched on 36 count by Lakeside Linens. So I may go the 36 count. A fat quarter of 36 count would do it. So I might do that. But I have to decide on fabric and I have to decide on the threads. And I don't think that this is a good Mania start, only because Mania starts only get one day, and so what, I'm going to get like a little bit in this corner here. And this is going to be one of those projects that I'm going to want to sink my teeth into a bit, I think. Inevitably get bored, but sink my teeth into nonetheless. So, yeah. Quick shout out here to Emily from Eclectic Possessions for totally and completely enabling me on this one. Yeah. Yeah, that's just gorgeous. What do the headstones read? In memory of Henry Cook and in memory of somebody else Cook. Weep not for me, my dear children. Angels weep when children mourn. Eliza. Yeah, gorgeous. Okay, enough about that. So some plans to be making with that. So that's it for retail therapy. Like I said, I've got something in the mailbox that I totally forgot. And I have a couple of other things en route. But I haven't bought anything this month, which is good since I ended March in the negative for Stitch from Stash. So, yeah. Need to be finishing some things this month so that I can recoup some of that. Okay, so our next topic for discussion is with regards to books. So, what have I been reading? Guys, I've been doing some reading. Not a ton, not a whole lot, but I did start Written and Read by Anne Bishop. And this is adult urban fantasy. This is so good so far. So basically it's kind of like an alternate history, alternate present, where there are supernatural beings and humans and supernatural beings are trying to coexist. These supernatural beings, or the others, are they have the ability, and they have in the past, of totally decimating human population. But in when the United States was colonized, a deal was brokered where the humans would provide things to the others, and the others would in turn let the humans live. And so there's kind of this coexistence going on. It's phenomenal. It's so good so far. I am just over 100 pages in, so just about a quarter of the way through, and it's just a lot of fun. It follows our main character who has a questionable past. Not entirely sure what's going on with her. Yeah, this is cool. This is very cool so far. Lots of mystery being developed. I haven't read anything in a little while, but I might pick this back up today. We shall see. Wendy from Cross Stitch Addict asked me how I managed to balance it all. How do I balance cross stitch, knitting, and reading? The long and short of it is, if I'm going to try to do more than cross stitch in a day, I have to pick two. So I have to stitch and read, or stitch and knit. It's very rare that I can manage to fit all three into one day. I could put myself on like a schedule, like stitch for an hour, read for an hour, knit for an hour, etc. But I don't feel like doing that. So I just have to pick two. So that's that. But written and read, very good so far. Very much looking forward to digging into that further. I am still reading here and there Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, that I am listening to on audio. Excuse me. And the new De Winters just arrived at Manderley. And so shenanigans are beginning to ensue, and yeah, very, very, just so much fun to listen to. I identify so much with the new Mrs. De Winter. It's not even funny. Okay, so next let's talk about some plans for reading. So first of all, we need to talk about my TBR jar. And as I mentioned in the intro, I already drew my my tags for the TBR jar. So I'm going to insert a clip of that here so that you can see which ones I drew. Okay guys, forgive the shaky nature of this clip. So I am going to draw my selections for my TBR jar for the April books. But one thing I did want to go over real quickly before I did so. This one, the one of the 4 seasons in the title, I'm putting back because I never got to the book that I had picked for that. If you'll remember, I had chosen The Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes, but I never got to it. So I'm just going to put that one back, and then I will shake this up and try not to shake the camera so much. And then I'm going to draw out 2 more. So we'll take that one and this one, just this one. Okay. So first we have By a Person of Color. And this is one that I drew before and had to put back. So we'll give this one a try this month in April. And then we have this one. This one's different. Okay, set around a non-Christmas holiday. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I'll have to have a look through my books and figure out what I'm going to read in April to satisfy these 2 tasks. Okay, back to the other page. Okay, so as you can see, I drew written by a person of color, as well as centered around a non-Christmas holiday. So the first one, written by a person of color, this is a book that I have been meaning to read for absolute years. It was one of my favorite movies growing up, so it's about time I read the book. It's my understanding that the book is a little bit different than the movie, which is good. And it is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Now a Broadway musical. Yeah, yeah, this I need to read. Okay, so I'm going to read the back to you. Published to unprecedented acclaim, The Color Purple established Alice Walker as a major voice in modern fiction. This is the story of two sisters, one a missionary in Africa, and the other a child wife living in the South, who sustain their loyalty to and trust in each other across time, distance, and silence. Beautifully imagined and deeply compassionate, this classic novel of American literature is rich with passion, pain, inspiration, and an indomitable love of life. It's one of my favorite movies from growing up. It's harsh, but maybe realistic. So anyway, love this. Looking forward to diving in. I picked this one over any of the other books that I have in my library, if that's what you want to call it, written by people of color, because it's short. And I have some big reading plans for the month of April, so I needed something a little bit short, but also something good. So there's that. And then, as far as a non-Christmas holiday book, I don't have anything, and I can't find anything that I actually want to read. There are, of course, innumerable romances and horror novels based around Halloween and Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and etc., etc. I'm just not interested. I don't feel like reading any of it. If something comes along, then I'll read it, but otherwise, I might just stick with that one. Now, as far as other reading plans are concerned, as I mentioned, there's a readathon in a couple weeks. It's the 24-hour readathon that I participated in last year, and so I'm making plans to try to do that again this year, where basically the goal is just to read for 24 hours, from midnight your time to midnight your time. I will put a link to the Dewey's 24-hour readathon website so that you can read up on any more details if you're interested. I'm still working on a TBR for that, but that kind of depends on what happens between now and then because it's not for a few weeks. Before that happens, there is another readathon that I am participating in, and it is the Tome Topple readathon. The Tome Topple readathon was created by a YouTuber whose channel I will link down below. It was created by several YouTubers or booktubers, and it's being hosted by a variety of people. So I will link Little Book Owl because that's where I found out about it. Basically, the goal is to read big books, and it runs for 2 weeks. I almost said 24 hours. It runs for 2 weeks, and the goal is to read books over 500 pages. And I like big books, so I decided to jump in on this one. And it starts on April 7th, and I have an idea of a TBR, but again, it's not official. I do know one thing that I'm going to read. And this is a recent acquisition. This is by one of my favorite authors that I talk about all the time on my channel. And this is already receiving absolutely rave reviews. This was released last Tuesday, and I had a pre-order edition. And it is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And this cover is holographic. It's kind of a pain in the butt for filming purposes. But it's beautiful. So, Laini Taylor is, of course, the author for the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which I talk about all the time on my channel. This is another one of those books by Laini Taylor that I don't want to know what happens. Like, I won't read or listen to any book reviews for this because I don't want to know anything going into it. I just want to go off this blurb in the back, which is always poetic and just ridiculously talented Laini Taylor writing. It says, on the second Sabbath of 12th moon in the city of Weep, a girl fell from the sky. Her skin was blue, her blood was red. Okay? I don't even know what any of that means. But I don't care because I'm going to read this and I'm going to love it. It is 533 pages and that beautiful font that I love that I talk about all the time from Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Yeah, I can't wait to dive into this. I've heard good things so far. Like people saying it's good. That's really the extent of my knowledge on this book. So yeah, that will be happening at some point, starting on Sunday or Friday. Starts the 7th, I think. I'll be reading this. So there's that. I have a pile of other books that I put in a TBR for April, but like none of it is official. None of it is worth mentioning other than I have a TBR, but we'll see what happens. So that is it for books. And next, let's switch over to knitting, and I will talk about what I've been working on these last couple weeks. So first up, in my Zoe Design Limited bag, drawstring bulldog bag, I have my Ashburn shawl by Melanie Berg, which I am knitting out of 3 skeins and 3 colors of Malabrigo sock in the lettuce, ochre, and eventually eggplant colorway. And I'm knitting this on US size 6, 4.0 millimeter needles, I do believe. Safe to assume, yes. You'd think that I said that last time and that I would know. So here is where I was last time, and I've done a couple more repeats. But I still have a couple more repeats. This was the knit along for the first quarter at Eat Sleep Knit. I haven't finished it, obviously, but I'm hoping to finish it up here pretty quickly. I say that, but I have a ton to do. So yeah, I love this. I love the texture, but I don't like doing the texture. I like the product of it. It just takes brain. But I absolutely love this colorway. This ochre is such a rich honey color. Yeah, that's happy. Very autumnal. So this is what my practically yarn ball barf looks like. It's getting ready to explode, I think. So there's that. And I'm getting ready to start working on that again here today. I also, what else have I worked on? In my Camp Loopy 2016 canvas bag, I'm working on a project that is not for Camp Loopy. This is the Dockside Mystery Knit Along from 2016 by Alicia Plummer. And I'll insert a picture of what this is going to look like finished, because like I said, it's from last year. I am knitting this out of Malabrigo. Are you Rios? Yes, Rios, which is a worsted weight 100% superwash merino. Absolutely love this yarn. I knit a lot of Malabrigo, have you noticed? This is squishy. This is a shawl, and so it's going to be massive and warm and squishy, and I'm going to try to knit it so that it's schlanket level. Schlanket meaning shawl that could serve as a blanket. And so this is where I was when I started working on it this time. I don't know that if and when I've shown this to you, but nonetheless, that's where I was when I started. And so I worked this 2x2 rib, which, can we talk about 2x2 rib on a shawl? Like 160 stitches of 2x2 rib is a lot. But it makes it stretchy there. And then I just got started on an eyelet section, but I had to stop. Basically, I was going to keep going on this, but then I made a mistake, and so I was like, okay, I'll take that sign in the universe, I will stop. So that's as far as I got. The colorway for the yarn, I don't think I mentioned, is called Sandbank. And this entire design is inspired by like a dock on some body of water at like sunrise or sunset, something like that, just like quiet, easy water living. So that's kind of where the inspiration for this came from. I love Alicia Plummer's patterns. I don't love the way she writes her patterns, but it's manageable. And I'm gonna love this because it's so squishy. It's already so squishy, and I'm not even done yet. I'm about halfway, if you can believe it. I have knit one skein. I have this used to be a skein, and then one more. So, I love Rios. Gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. Super, super squishy. So there's that. So I'll be getting back to that sooner rather than later. And then the last project that I've worked on, also in a Loopy U bag. This one was my prize for completing freshman year of Loopy Academy. Also a canvas bag. I love these canvas bags, especially for the big shawls. This is a shawl that's close to done, but so far from done. So I am knitting the Meteor Shower Shawl. This is by Very Busy Monkey, and I am knitting it out of 2 colors of Madeline Tosh Merino Light. Oh, look at that, a different colorway. This is a singles yarn, 100% superwash merino. The colorways are Molly Ringwald, yes, pretty in pink, Molly Ringwald, and the black leaning blue is Thunderstorm. And so this is what I've got left of that. Also on the verge of yarn barf. And I am working on the knitted on edging. And that's why this project is close to done, but so far from done. Because basically what I did is I started down here and knit, 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 knit. And now I'm working sideways. And so what you see here is the edging of the shawl. It's in that, what is it, blackberry bush lace is the patterning. And I have like 150 stitches to go. So like 300 rows to go. I have a long way to go. I'm going to love this when it's done. I posted that on Instagram the other day. I'm going to love this when I'm done. But I am not loving the doing of it. This is also on US size 6 4mm needles. And when I started working on it the other day, I was here. So I've done 20 rows maybe. But I had to put this down because I just needed a break. This was too mind intensive. I mean, it's not like it's hard lace. It's really simple. It's basically a 2-stitch repeat. But it's still, there's brain involved, and I didn't want to put brain in it. So there's that. I'll get back to this. I have changed up my knitting rotation a little bit. So before it was 3 days for each project in my rotation, 4 days for Ashburn, and each project in my rotation was every one of my knitting whips. But what I found was that there's a couple of projects that I can't work on because I stole their needles, and so I don't have needles for them. There's also a couple of projects that I just don't feel like working on. So I took them all out. So I have 5 projects in my rotation right now. I have Ashburn, which is still getting 4 days because I'm trying to get that done for the Eat Sleep Knit along. That's ended and the new one has started, but not until I finish this one am I going to start the next one. Then I have Thistle Rambles, which you saw last time, Dockside MCal, Meteor Shower, and my socks. And those are the 5 projects that I'm going to work on. When I finish one of them, I'll put something else in. If I finish one of these 4, no, let me start over. When I finish the Ashburn shawl, then I will start the new knit along for Eat Sleep Knit. And the current one is something with a summer yarn, with a summer content yarn. So silk, cotton, linen, like airy type of fiber content. Wool, very much a cold weather type yarn. So anyway, so once I finish Ashburn, then I will start that knit along. When I finish the Meteor Shower shawl, then I will start the Good Vibes shawl, which I talked about last time. And then if I finish any of the other 3, then I will pull in another WIP to put in there. So essentially I have a knit along piece, I have a new start, a new cast on piece, and 3 of my current WIPs. And so that's kind of what I'm going to carry moving forward, because I found that it's taking me too long to get back to the projects that I want to work on. I want to work on my socks. I want to work on Thistle Rambles. It's taking too long to get there, so I had to revise. So that's kind of my plan. Revising a bit. Always reinventing myself. The last thing that I have to show you with regards to knitting is a recent acquisition. This is a yarn by a dyer that I have wanted to purchase from since she started dyeing. This I finally was able to nab a skein. I have followed her before she started dyeing yarn. I followed her podcast since the very beginning. She's one of my favorite podcasters. Her name is Stacy, and she hosts the Stress Knits podcast. Stacy is from Michigan, but she went to college, and she just recently graduated from college in West Virginia. And I just happened upon her podcast one night and caught I watched every episode, and she started dyeing yarn. And so I finally got in on a skein, and this is the one that I got. So this beauty is, this is a March exclusive. It was a March exclusive. And it is called Mom's Flower Bed, and it's inspired by her mom's flower bed. So gorgeous greens and peachy colors and some pink tones. This is on her favorite sock base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards. And I just found out that since I ordered this, her label has changed. So I'm kind of glad, because I have an antiquated label. So I got this, and I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous. That's really pretty. And something that I see a lot of yarn tubers do is they sort of dig into a skein, especially if they're independently dyed, and they're variegated. So kind of like dig in to see what else is in there. So I did that. So I opened this up, and I'm like, that's gorgeous. Not entirely what I was expecting, which I'm good with. So I dug in. Do you see that? That like bright blue? And you can't see that at all in the skein when it's all wrapped up. So I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to do it here on camera. And I'm just going to undo this gorgeous skeining and see what we've got. Oh, that's pretty. So do you see that bright blue? Oh, that's gorgeous. And some oranges and some purples, and then a good chunk of green. This is cool. So she said that this is going to create micro striping, essentially. So one row of green and one row of color, of a different color, I guess. The oranges, the purples, that blue that I'm so excited to get into. Ugh, that's gorgeous. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed everything that I showed you here to get here today. I've got a bunch of editing to do, and I need to get stitching. So thank you once again. I will see you guys next time.